Beer is the world's most widely consumed alcoholic beverage, generating $500 billion in revenue each year. The characteristics of beers are controlled by the addition of hops during the brewing process. Aroma hops that give beers their flavour, and alpha hops that control the level of bitterness. Beers with novel flavours are being increasingly sought after by global consumers. The Plant and Food Research Breeding Program is delivering new varieties of hops that support brewers in meeting this challenge, as breeder Ron Beetson explains.
The breeding program first started in the late 1940s, and it was mainly set up with the industry's involvement, and the government at the time were interested in solving a root rot problem which occurred in the hops that were grown. These are overseas cultivars, and they didn't adapt well to New Zealand's climatic conditions. By the early 1960s, there was new cultivars released from the program which were adapted to New Zealand's climate and also had resistance to the root rot disease. Specifically, we're looking for hops that are unique in their chemistry profiles, because we don't really have to follow what the Americans and the Germans are doing, who are the main hop producing countries, and they've got specific requirements for their types of cultivars. But ours are really looking at niche markets, so we can sort of be a bit more varied with what we're trying to get in their chemistry profiles. So I guess our theme, if you like, for our hop breeding program is hops with a difference. There's been 19 cultivars developed in the breeding program since its inception in the late 1940s, early 50s, and currently there's 14 of our cultivars are grown commercially. And they're split pretty much evenly between high alpha types and aroma types. So our hops have been used quite widely overseas. About 90% of our hops are exported, and particularly into the craft market in the United States, also into Europe and into the Asian market, particularly Japan. So there's always a changing in the markets, and particularly now there's been an upswing in the craft brewing industry, and they're looking for something different, and so they don't want run-of-the-mill hops that are going to give them flavours that are not unique. They want something that's a bit different. So we've bred a cultivar, for instance, called Nelson Sauvin, which has got a lot of interesting brewing properties. It's been used quite widely in New Zealand, but also it's now being used quite widely in overseas countries. We do all the commercial chemistry testing for the hop industry here on site, and we do a lot of work on essential oils of hops, and we also do the resin chemistry testing as well. So there's a lot of HPLC analysis work done, plus spectrophotometric analysis, as well as our, as I said, the essential oils. We're doing tests for the on a GC.
So the lab's quite diverse because we do the research work for our hop breeding program, plus we also do all the commercial hop analysis for the New Zealand hop industry. Now what we do here in the lab is I measure either the bitterness of the hops for the alpha hops, and I also analyse the volatile compounds for the aroma hops. With the bittering hops we'll look at the alpha acid content, and for the HPLC I can identify the individual alpha acids, and this is also a good quality indicator because typically with our breeding programs we want something called a low cohumulone content, because cohumulone is an alpha acid and it's believed that that imparts a negative bitterness, and it also negatively affects the mouth quality of the beer, so we try and avoid it.
Lion is the largest brewing company in New Zealand and is a key partner in the hops breeding program. New varieties of hops are tested by the brewing team led by Malcolm Breyer to determine how the flavours will perform as components in new beers.
We've developed a lot of interesting beers here. We've got a pilot plant which is 50 litre brew capacity versus the 60,000 that we've got in the main brewery. We can do all sorts of tests on that. We do flavour tests, the analytical tests, we analyse it through GCs to see what actual products, flavours are in there. But the key one is how it comes out in the flavour. We use about 9 varieties of hops. Again, there's the bittering hops. We're using about 4 different hops for bittering. There's the older established varieties, Pacific Gem, Green Bullet and Super Alpha. We use those 2 in a unique blend in Sign Lager Classic. And we also use a newer generation bittering hop, Pacific Jade, which has been recently bred at the Hop Breeding Research Station in Motueka, and that has a much better quality of bitterness to it, smoother, softer bitterness and a cleaner finish. So that was quite instrumental in deciding what bittering hop to use in Steinlager Pure. The aroma hops, so there's more of those. We're using Nelson Sauvin, which was recently developed several years ago, and we're using that to put a bit more aroma into Steinlager Pure. It's also used in the blend for Max Hop Rocker, and it's quite a versatile hop. It adds a nice fruity, passion fruity type flavour to the beer. We're also using some other more stronger hops, which the craft brewers like to use. We use them as well. So we're using Motueka and Cascades and beers like Max Sassy Red and also Max Hop Rocker. We're blending the flavours with the stronger flavours of the beer to be compatible. So good strong hop flavour with the stronger flavours coming through from the malts.
The increasing consumer trend for the brewing industry is for new beers with unique flavours, as Lion brand manager Hayden Harvey explains.
What we're seeing is that consumers are looking for a new beer experience, and I think the boundaries for what we can offer in that space are quite unlimited. So consumers are looking for things that are less challenging, and we're seeing even in craft beers that the brands that are truly successful at the moment are the ones that offer quite a bit of flavour but are easy on the palate, particularly with emerging drinkers. So that's what we would call someone who's just getting into drinking beer. 18 to 24-year-olds actually find beer a bit of a struggle. So we have a real opportunity to bring more lighter, easier drinking styles to beer. So they're looking for refreshment, a lot of flavour but easy on the palate. I think people are just looking for different experiences, and I think for a brand, particularly a brand like Max, hops actually allow us to expand and explore and kind of innovate in different areas and just try a few different things. So Max kind of tends to push the boundaries of what we can deliver in beer, and we need different varieties of hops to essentially do that. Also, with brands like Max, they become pioneers for hops as well. So we've used hops before in Max that have actually then been used in other beers that we brew because of the success of brewing to a certain style of flavour.
With a growing trend towards beers with novel flavours, there is a focus on new varieties of hops that can support the brewing industry in meeting the demands of its consumers. Plant and Food Research has an established breeding program that delivers new hop varieties with agronomic traits specific for the New Zealand environment, combined with the novel flavour characteristics that the brewing industry and consumers demand.